Welcome back to Lift You Up Inspiring Health Stories. I'm your host, Tamika Bickham. I'm the founder and chief storyteller of TB Media Group. But for the purpose of this podcast, I am your health and happiness matchmaker. Now, before I introduce you to today's guest, you know what I'm going to ask you to do. Hit subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube and turn on those notifications and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to stay connected with you. Now, today we're talking about something that is important for every single one of us, no matter who you are: hydration. Not just the regular hydration, though, cellular hydration. So Jovi Wellness is talking all about their new product that came out during the pandemic that hydrates your cells and your skin. And trust me, I've tried it myself, and it's the smoothest water I've ever tasted. Our physical, mental, and emotional health is not just a want, it is a need for happy lives and prosperous businesses. Lift You Up is the podcast where we share inspiring health stories from business owners who are fulfilling their purpose to live their healthiest lives and helping you do the same. From former TV reporter to marketing entrepreneur and content creator, I care about sharing stories that matter and stories that connect us. I'm your host, Tamika Bickham, your health and wellness matchmaker. Let me first say welcome Tammy Hobbs, Elizabeth, Lucey to the show. You're both with Jovē. Did I say it right? Jovē! Jové Water! I'm so excited to have you both on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Very happy to be here.
Thank you. So why don't, Tammy, we'll start with you. Give us a brief introduction about who you are, what you do.
I'm Tammy Hobbs, obviously. I've been in operations and manufacturing for, I could say 39, which sounds better than almost 40, but for 39 years. They're all, for some reason, when you get to the 40 mark, it sounds like I'm really old, and I am, but that's okay. Young at heart. And the last 17 years I've spent strictly in the beverage industry with the founder, Jerry Whitlock. And so I've held multiple executive roles in that industry. So the way I came into the Jovi world is that he owned Whitlock Packaging, which is the largest non-carbonated manufacturing plant for A plus brands, like for Coca-Cola, Pepsi, different major brands. And he sold the business in 2016 and wanted to have his own brand, but he wanted to have a healthy brand because, as you can imagine, he's seen a lot of unhealthy products made in the industry. So he set out to find a technology and partnered with another founder. And this technology, even though we had it, he said, it's great we have it now. We want to make sure we have clinical studies to prove what we say Jové Water does. And that was very exciting. So our board of advisors have been in the beverage industry for many years, probably 40 to 50 years, some of them. And they've seen everything come to fruition. Good beverages that are healthier beverages, and they've seen a real trend for the healthier beverages in the industry.
And Elizabeth, I want to give you the opportunity as well to introduce yourself.
Yes, Elizabeth Lucey, and I am the Chief Marketing Officer with Jové Wellness. And like Tammy, a seasoned person in the work field. So it's, part of this story, I think, at least for me, is a nice opportunity to have an engagement in a startup brand like Jovi and be part of what created it since the beginning. I started off in sales and really in the early days of the computing industry. I had a health crisis when I was in college, and that had me become interested in nutrition. And then I worked with, a nutrition tech company. And the gentleman that I worked for there had gone back to business school. He was he had his MBA. So I was inspired to get my MBA, and that's when I discovered packaged goods marketing, because it was like entrepreneurship inside of another company. It's like we had these little, our brands were our own companies. And so we were like running our companies, but it was inside a larger organization. And I just really loved the dynamic of that experience. Then another health crisis that wasn't personal, was more of a family health crisis, had me really open up to more holistic wellness and holistic healing, really. And so I took kind of a detour there and learned some mind-body modalities. And so it was, and that all worked out, it's fascinating. I was just like, oh my gosh, I learned some things, and I saw people, doing these, basically energy healing. And I was like, that is like so fast. I mean, it's like, to me, it was like the greatest thing since sliced bread. It was like, well, I have to learn about that. So I did discover that, and all that goes with living a wellness journey, because part of what I didn't want to do was live into a future that was filled with disease. And so at my age, I don't have I'm not on any prescription medications at this point. So there has been, personal success in that regard. So then I was brought into Jovi because of having this mixture of marketing experience and wellness experience. And so it really is, for me, a real, we say Jovi joy, but it is a joy to be part of something that really brings together all of my experience. And so it's a great experience. This is a great assignment for me to be on.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. It seems like the perfect marriage, right? Like your personal interest in health and wellness, overcoming certain challenges in your life with this industry that you've worked in for some time. So you mentioned that Jovi is a startup. So I want to know a little bit more about the business. When did it start and why?
Well, it started 2 years ago. A little over 2 years ago now, maybe 2.5 years ago. And it started, for the desire for the founder, who'd been in the beverage industry for many years, to put out a brand that he created that was a healthy product. So then it was a search for the technology, and with Elizabeth's help, we really wanted to find out a market that, really fit the purpose and the intention of the brand, because Jovi stands for joy of nature and love of science. So we also say it stands for joy and love. so we use those two descriptions, and that's where Jovi was derived from. The name was derived from. But then you have to prove it out. You also have, there was a market that wasn't being served, which Elizabeth identified, and then the brand really came together based on its intent. Even in manufacturing, it's manufactured with hearts on the water silos. And those hearts are there with the intent that we are producing this with love. Mm-hmm. And the first production that I went to, when we put the hearts on, the men of the plant were, what are they doing? This was outside of Pittsburgh, the burly Pittsburgh guys in the plant, these hearts going on the tanks. But they laughed. And so we saw a transformation in their face. And there you go. That was well worth it in itself. So it's even from production to the bottling, to the way we package our product, and how we feel about customer service and serving the consumer, it's all about the same intent. And it's just worked well for us.
So when you say the technology, what is that? What does that mean? And what sets Jovi apart?
Yeah, so what we have is we call it our advanced cellular hydration technology, and that's a kind of a fancy word for it. But what it is, it's really a 3-step process. The first step is very common for bottled water. It's a it's a 9-step purification process. And one of the things, it's very important that water isn't contaminated. As you know, you want to make sure you're drinking good, pure water. So it starts there. And then we infuse the purified water with a patented essential mineral, and it's a patented liquid form of silica. And we just put a very small amount, because bottled water is regulated at the state level and at the federal level. So we just put a very small amount in, but it brings up the alkalinity. And then it works in conjunction with the third step, which is we infuse the water with an abundance of electrons. Now, electrons are our primary source of energy. So at the cellular level, our little mitochondria that are in our cells, which are little batteries inside our cells, and that's why we say, we want happy cells, because that'll lead to a happy body, because that's what kind of gets everything going. I mean, we have, it's trillions, I don't know how many cells we have in our bodies, but that at that core level, that's what we're speaking to really support. And that is that primary source of energy helps at that level. So those three steps. So we have our, purification process, then we infuse it with the essential mineral to increase the alkalinity, and then charge it with an abundance of electrons. Now, that charging process is a patent pending technology that, it's one of those things a lot of times when when it comes to, it's like the, Post-it note, right? When it comes to being done, it works beautifully. It seems very simple. But, the science behind what got to that glue that sticks just so perfectly, there was a lot of science that went into it. But at the end, there's this beautiful, simple, useful product. And that's what really Jovē is.
How long does this kind of process to develop a technology like this, how long did this take?
I think it was I think Dario says about 10 years he's been working with it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's been a long time in the making, and then of course a couple of years to commercialize it, study it, because
understand of FDA compliance with the equipment, various things. You can't just walk into a manufacturing plant, or we call them co-packers, and say, oh, we want to attach our equipment to yours. We were supposed to launch retail when the pandemic hit. So, we really struggled with that, because we'd worked so hard to present, like, for instance, to Publix, one of our retailers now that are on board. So we were so disappointed, but we just went to the next level. Okay, well, how can we tell people about Jovē? Well, everyone goes to Amazon. So we put our product on Amazon during that time, as we still kept defining our story. And then when we were able to virtually present to Publix, it just was beautiful, because it was, we were told, don't expect to get in right away. It takes years usually. That's a really tough retailer. And we just kept with it sounds corny, but we kept positive, and that's our theme. And we knew our story. We had something to say, and what a beautiful time to bring a product called Jovē for joy and love, because we all need a lot of that right now.
Absolutely. So I have a few more questions going back to the technology. So you have that 3-step process, but for, the person at home who's like, okay, I drink my water, whether it's out of the tap, or I get my Publix brand water, or whatever brand water it is that they want, how is this different?
The one thing about water is that it is H2O. So, it's very common, and you think water, H2O. Well, water by itself is not hydrating. Distilled water on the alkaline scale is like 7.0, and it's actually considered to be dehydrating. So water needs other things with it to make it hydrating and useful for the body. So most of the water that you're going to find on the shelf will be reasonable drinking water. But Jovē is designed specifically to hydrate at the cellular level. We know for sure Jovē is the technology supports skin and cellular hydration.
And I will say, from trying it myself, I felt like it was so smooth when I drank it. That's like the first thing that came to my mind about it. And I was like, wow, this definitely tastes and feels different.
And it tastes good. My father doesn't like to drink water. He's 83. And so I order it for him. And he always tells me when he's down to 6 bottles because he's so afraid to run out. He loves the taste and the smoothness. And a lot of the elder community, they just don't like to drink water. I don't know why, because I drink water all the time. I can't imagine being older and not wanting it. But for some reason, it's difficult for a lot of the aging. He loves it. I mean, I love this. I can drink this water is what he says. So,
and that smoothness comes from that alkalinity, that patented liquid silica, that patented essential mineral. So that creates that smoothness, and it does really make a difference for a lot of people that don't like to drink water.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So tell me, okay, where things are now with Jovi. I know you mentioned you're planning on going to Publix, I guess at the start or around the time of the pandemic. So that was put on hold for a certain point. So how long has Jovi been available to the public? Where can people find you now? Tell me a little bit more about that.
You can do.
Okay. Yeah, well, last summer we started actually just a year ago in July on Amazon, and then we became available in retail in late May in Publix. We're also available in most of the Publix stores. So if any of your listeners are going to their Publix stores and they don't find it, they can ask for it because they'll special order it in for them. And we are working to expand and being in as many Publix as we can.
Currently, it's like 986
Yeah,
stores. So that's a good
fantastic. Yeah.
We're close to our goal of over 1,000. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we're in the Philadelphia area. We're in Giant Food. We're in that chain, as well as Earth Fare. And so we're looking to continue to expand, but and on our website, drinkjovi.com, you can always buy it through that as well, which links right to our Amazon store.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll certainly make sure to link to that below as well. So Tammy, I want to talk a little bit more about your personal story and how you ended up, kind of taking this path and, kind of, oh, it sounds like a good one.
I, through friends, I came across and I met the founder who was in the beverage industry, Jerry Whitlock, and I'm born in Alabama, raised all across the country. My dad was in the Air Force, but I spent a lot of my years in Tennessee before coming here. And it was a time in my life where I needed a change. And I, when speaking with Jerry, he knew about my manufacturing background, and he was preparing for the time when he sold his business to go on into something different, which we didn't really know it was Jovi at the time, but it was going to be a healthy brand. So when I came on board, which again, that was 17 years ago, but he's had this vision since I came on board in 2004. So that's how long he's had this. I mean, he's talked about it that long. And so my executive roles with him basically is he's an entrepreneur. So my role was to follow everything that he came across that he wanted to do and help balance him, because most entrepreneurs want to do everything and then you don't focus and get anything done. So that was my role. I was like a little Jerry, just working with him to figure out the paths. And he never lost sight of this one project ever in all the years that I've been with him. And he said, there was a point where we needed to have leadership for this company. And at the time we had 7. We had 5 businesses that I was, running for him. And this became number 1 for me. And I was really happy when he gave me the opportunity, because, I will have to proudly say that we're a small and mighty team of all women.
Hey now.
Yeah. We have to believe in what we're doing, and we believe in Jovi, and we drink it, and we feel the difference. And so for me personally, it was just really nice to come on board to see an entrepreneur stick with his vision and then pick me, appoint me along with the board to run it was very exciting, because it's just, it's just the love in my life right now. I'd say.
The joy and love of Jovi, right?
That's right.
Do you feel like it came around? I mean, obviously, I know, like you said, since for the last 17 years, this has been in a way in the works. This was a thought, like something that you all wanted to happen. But knowing that it became available in the last year, and we know what this last year has been marked by, of a pandemic, a time of people really evaluating their health and the importance of that, and really taking a pause and saying, hey, if I'm not taking time for me, my health, and my wellness, what is it that I really have? Do you feel like Jovi came around at the right time?
I do. It was disappointing when we couldn't launch when we wanted to, but during that time, we found ways we could improve. So the timing was perfect. We didn't see it then, but we saw it after all the events happened. So I think sometimes that's to say to yourself, when you run across a hurdle, well, there could be a reason for that. It could be a reason to stop and pause. And that's what happened. And it just made everything better for us.
There's a fair amount of stress when you're working on a startup at times, because, the unknown, and you have, and for people that have vision, and a lot of entrepreneurs have that vision, but you have to take the steps to get to that vision. And so, a year goes past, 2 years, and managing, I mean, for me personally, I can speak, managing my stress is one of the things that is very important. So doing things in the morning, even though and what I find is, I think there's this quote, find peace and then everything will work out, as opposed to do everything and then you can get your peace. It's like, turn that around, and when things get a little bit like, to take that moment of pause and, take a step back, take care of yourself. And I think that, given where we are, because there's so much change happening, as a result of the pandemic and, a lot of things just in the world, what is right for one's own personal care, really the person has to learn to trust themselves and care for their own body. And we help each other a lot, because we see each other a lot and we spend a lot of time with each other.
And I think there was a time when talking about cellular was probably a little foreign to most people.
Mm-hmm.
And now it isn't. I mean, people are understanding what that means, and what it truly means to be properly hydrated.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think people know more about that now?
Well, it was on the top 10 list of the things to do for, to stay healthy from the pandemic. People were talking about, and, and a lot of people, 2/3 of hydration is cellular hydration. So, a lot of times, and as I learned more about hydration, I didn't realize, like at 3:00 in the afternoon, like it's kind of a dip for me. And a lot of times I would reach for food, when really I need to reach for water. I mean, have some, if you want to have a snack.
A snack. I'm doing this because I really need it.
But so we've also learned on the team, like, the importance of hydration. So it's great. And, look, when you go to Mars, what are they looking for? They're looking for water. That's like a primary source that fuels our body, that fuels life.
Mm-hmm.
And so
absolutely.
Yeah, so I do think it's an interesting time. I would say you'd love to make things happen on your own, but there's something about Jovi and the timing, all the people, there is, Carl Jung kind of talked about synchronicity, when things come together and it's the right time, right place, and it's a good time for Jovi. So and a good time, I think, for all of us.
Absolutely. And I would say, initially in the pandemic, right, what did we see? Like alcohol sales going up 30-something%, people, the quarantine 15, whatever they called it.
Yes.
Those few months went by and said, hey, we cannot drink anymore. We cannot eat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be drinking our water, right? I mean, it's such an important part. And, you know, I used to be involved in bodybuilding, and before I knew why it was important to drink a gallon of water a day when I was training for something, like, no, there's much more to it. It's good for everyone to drink a lot of water. Like, now it's something when I first wake up, because overnight I've dehydrated, like I need to drink a liter of water in the morning. So, and I've heard that from others, like, hey, start your day with water because it gets your cells hydrated. But now I know the difference between regular water and water that gets into the cells.
Into the
Jovē
cells,
water.
yes.
And someone had told me once, before you step your feet on the floor, you should have a drink of water. And so I started doing that. And I, you know, I thought, well, as many healthy habits as I can create in my life, the better. So I could tell the difference. And particularly and I've been doing this for years, if you have the onset of a headache, drink a glass of water, because typically your headache will go away, because it's often because of dehydration. Yeah. So maybe that's why I haven't had a headache, since I drink water. I keep it by my bed, and I literally drink before I put my feet on the floor.
I want to ask about the purposeful part of this, right? Because I remember reading on the side of the bottle that a portion of sales goes to, I think, protecting or cleaning our waters. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. You know, one of the things that was really important for us when we were commercializing Jovi was what package. You know, you start from, you know, square one, right? So what package do we want to put the water in? And so there was really a deep dive into all the packaging options available. And as it turns out, really plastic, believe it or not, PET bottles have one of the lightest carbon footprints. It has a less carbon footprint than aluminum or glass or you know, other forms of containers. So, and we know that consumers like to see the water, you know, they like to see that purity, that water, you know. So when we came to like understanding the value of, you know, or the conclusion for us, I mean, we're still looking for sustainable options, of course, but the question was, well, if we're going to be part of, you know, putting plastic bottles out there, how can we be part of the circular economy and taking it out of harm, you know, where it's doing harm. So we partnered with TerraCycle, who does have a program in place to remove plastic from the oceans. And so that's where our donations go. And, you know, kind of is our part of, you know, stewarding the planet as well. And, you know, we always ask, you know, make sure we say, you know, make Mama Earth proud and recycle your bottles, and, you know, don't, you know, dispose of them properly. So, but that's what we do there.
Absolutely. No, I think that's that's part of the joy and the love, right? We can't just expect to only take care of ourselves if we're not taking care of our environment, because that's part of our health overall as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. This has been great. Is there anything else that you wanted to add that I didn't ask you?
Do you have anything? I would just say, you know, thank you for having us on, where, you know, we could talk about Jovi and doing this work. And, you know, it's exciting to be part of what we'll say, you know, let's just call it a new era. You know, we've gone through this experience together. You know, there is this, like, how do we step forward, and how can we make a contribution? And so we're personally very passionate about, you know, having Jovi available to everyone that is interested in discovering us and trying us and loving us as much as we do, as much as we love Jovi.
And lastly, tell everyone where they can find you, learn more about you. I know you have the website, social media, and, you know, feel free to, again, mention the locations where they can purchase you.
We're in about 986 Publix and Giant, Carlisle. Earth Fare, which is, people in this area may not be familiar with Earth Fare, but it is a smaller chain of a very healthy, conscious store, like a mini Whole Foods. The owner bought back the stores because he wanted to take it back to its original goals that they had. So he started buying them back. I think he has about 30 now. And then Amazon online. And it's available in 1 liter at Publix and Giant, or a 6-pack.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to link to the website. And I know you guys are active on social media. You have very beautiful marketing. So I'll make sure.
Oh, and yeah, our core group that follows us, they're just wonderful people. We've had some hydration challenges in closed groups, and the stories are just moving and touching. It's really allowed a space for those to talk about what they've been through during the pandemic, or the things they love. And we don't just dwell on the negative things that have happened, all the positive things. And the stories are just amazing and beautiful. And that's a real part of Jovi as well.
Yeah.
And you know what I also want to ask from each of you? I always like to ask a health or a wellness tip that you incorporate into your life that you feel like helps, whether it's manage stress or just kind of stay grounded throughout your day, whatever that thing is that you feel like you'd like to offer to the audience to incorporate into their life. Go ahead, Tammy.
Me? Okay.
Well, I mean, you already gave us a good one with the before your feet touch the floor, drink your water.
Touch the floor without drinking water. And something I picked up recently that I used to do often, but I haven't been doing it as much, is just taking my shoes off and walking in my grass every morning when I get up. And if not there, of course, on the beach. It's a good place too. It's like your natural pedicure. It's good. The sand is good to buff the bottom of your feet. So those are my tips.
Awesome.
And I think my tip would be around just taking those moments, and even if it's a meditative moment, but when I've used meditation a lot in this process when I've been working through questions that I have as far as how to progress with the project, or what needs to happen in a day when I feel like I've got a lot on my plate to process. And so learning some form of meditation, and when things do get like there's a lot going on, I think that there's so much clarity, and this is one of my terms I'm using for the year: clarity leads to conversion. So conversion being, getting to the next step or getting that success. It's like that decision's made, we know how to move forward. So I'm a big proponent of taking those moments and going inward and taking a few breaths.
Yeah, and I would say too, just being grateful. You're just waking up every day and being grateful for something. I mean, sometimes they say make a list of 10. It could just be one. Just be grateful for something.
Gratitude is always important. Yeah. And I literally had that conversation with someone earlier today, and it's something that we can all do, no matter who you are, anywhere, and no matter your circumstance. Just find something to be grateful for that day. So I love those tips. Thank you both so very much. I will make sure to link to all of your links, social media, where people can find you below in the show notes. And I will personally say myself, I really, really enjoyed Jovi. I mean, it's really, really good.
Oh, great.
Oh, well, thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Jovi joy.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
I hope you learned a little more about the importance of cellular hydration and a little bit more about the technology behind it. I had no idea it got that deep when it came to water. But I also love this company's mission of helping clean up our oceans, because environmental health is also important to our overall health and wellness. So make sure you check out Jovē Wellness below in the show notes. Find all of their contact information, the website where you can order, social media. As I said, they have beautiful marketing and branding. So until next time, I know I'll see you back next week. Oh yeah, and don't forget, make sure you're connected to me too. That's also important. I'm all the places though. You probably know that if you've checked below in the show notes. So go ahead, find me YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the places, and I'll see you back next week, because since you have those notifications on, you'll get that alert. So until I see you then, stay happy, stay healthy.